Check 1, 2. Check. Sounds pretty clean. Everybody, it is Thursday, January 16th. Is that what that says? Oh my god, I have no idea. I want to say good morning, see how everybody's doing. Writing some stuff with the Eurorack this morning. Just kind of goofing around. Today I wanted to talk about arrangements. And I wanted to give people some insight on the channel that I watch daily to get musical inspiration and to learn some of the theory that I teach everybody. Open Studio is, they're not paying me to say this either, but I watch a lot of those channels. There are some amazing videos of them talking about chord theory. A lot of it is very, very far-fetched, if I may say, meaning like very advanced theory. Like right now I'm studying secondary dominant chords and their role. They usually were used a lot in like jazz in the 50s and 40s to write a lot of the standards. So I've been practicing some of that lately. Today was going to be more about thinking about theory and arrangements, and we were going to talk about just an easy way to make an arrangement. Sometimes you get really confused and you don't know the best way to go about making an arrangement, and I would say the theory of an arrangement is what I wanted to talk about. Teaching some new students lately, and they were kind of asking like what my take in an arrangement was, right? So an arrangement would typically be the theory behind, if we had 0 minutes and we had 3 minutes and 30 seconds. What I mean is the plotting of the music over time. So what this is going to kind of not like tell you in like stone, but what a lot of bands do, or what happens a lot of times in music, is there would be a timeline, and this would be the arrangement view in Ableton, and we would say, okay, from here to here is the intro, and then you'd have like a verse, and then you would have like maybe like pre-chorus, and this is just like the fastest example and that might be like just a bad take on some words that we could use inside an arrangement. So you might have heard this in a studio. You might have heard of intro. You may have heard of verse. You may have heard of pre-chorus, chorus, solo, the word coda, and out. So we could talk a lot about what this may mean when you're looking at a sheet. Coda, I believe, sometimes refers to going back to the beginning of the song, verse. But other people would use it maybe as something different. And you can label these whatever you like. This might be more like what rock, jazz, would kind of use, R&B. And then when you're talking about techno, you may be more looking at intro. And then a word is like break. And build. And then or rise, you might hear. And then, again, maybe a solo. And then, another break. And then out. So you can name these whatever you want. But the idea that instead of just like going into the arrangement view like you have no idea what you're about to do, this becomes what I say is maybe like a mini roadmap. Hey, C-Live, what's going on? Good to see you. Yeah. And yeah, like I said, this might be something that some people do, some people don't do. Now, in the music I'm going to write today, it's super basic. I'm working on one chord. And I think it's D minor sixth is the word, so I'm working, is kind of where I'm at. It's in the key of C, and I'm playing basically D, F, A, and B, or the 3 F. I can turn these into chords. I can do whatever I want. But literally what I started working on today, if I unmuted some of the music, and was kind of like not boring, but it's just something super easy, right? And when I'm working in the Elektron world, I'm not really thinking like this right now, but I use patterns to be the things that tell me what I'm doing. So like the pattern I'm on right now, the first one that I've designed for this song, might be active with drums. I might consider this the verse or the break or, some part like that. But when I change what's going on, I might consider it a chorus. I might mute an instrument so that I can solo. And these are choices that we make when we're working on songs. And, I always tell people that, like, really great artists do have a roadmap. They know they're like going to come into this intro. They're going to have a really cool break. The verse is going to come in. They're going to have a little bit of a build. It's going to come out. Some solo artist is going to sing for their big, whatever message they have in the song. And the song's going to have a break and it's going to be done. So if you're writing pop music, you've got like a 3-minute ticker. If you're writing techno, you might have 5 or 6. If you're writing whatever genre you want, this is what you start to determine when people ask, well, how long should I make a song? And I say, well, how much do you need to put into the song itself? So I would say these kind of things are determining factors when you're writing and you're doing an arrangement. When people ask me, how do I write a chorus? This is when I say I've been studying from a channel called Open Studio. So basically hinge chords, or the word was cush chords that I used the other day that were ways for us to get out of playing the same thing over and over again and to get out of the same key so that you were actually writing music in different keys. So Open Studio is who I recommend to kind of go over to that channel and even start with some of their beginner stuff and learn the circle of fifths through them with the piano. One recommendation he has is make sure you're playing extensions with the 7 chords all the time. That is something I teach a lot of my students too. So the bigger thing now is when you're writing, how do you know what to play during a solo, or how do you know what to play during that part where you want to express yourself a lot, right? Now, that's going to be choosing a solo instrument that has a lot of power, some kind of instrument that actually breaks through the mix, maybe is the word that I would use. And then from there, if you know that's the channel you're working on, you would basically make sure that the sound that you're using is very powerful, I say. All joking aside, right? So something with, see, that didn't have a lot of bite, no. Well, Some synths like have more sawtooth waves. When we're playing a solo, you might want to have something that stands out more in the mix, right? And then a break is nothing more than when music's playing. If you mute the drums, not all joking aside, that might be the break. When you think about a rise, something that makes things feel like they're going up or things are building in tension, right? Sometimes I use reverb if I want more tension or less tension. Reverb and delay actually that add space. They push the sounds into the background, right? So when someone says, well, why would I use reverb or delay? Well, during a solo, you might push an instrument back a little with reverb, and then the lead instrument comes in with no effect, so it sounds like it's very in front of you while it plays back. So this might be a great time to say making music becomes a couple theories. It's not just one. Music theory is the theory of the chords and the notes you play melodically. It's the theory of the scales and all the ones that you choose to use. And music theory is the arrangement theory, like how you organize the parts of the songs that you write. So I think it's hard as a musician because you don't realize that there's actually 3 stages of writing, and we're in the final stage of that. That is literally after you have the song kind of in your head and you've practiced it a little bit, or you've recorded certain parts, but now you don't know what each part is or how you're going to arrange those over the course of 3 minutes. This is something that will get you out of playing loops. I would say because you could look at each different section as something else you're going to play, and you're not going to go, I'm going to copy something from here and bring it over. That's the last thing you want to do. So rewriting a pattern to be a verse or a chorus sometimes makes all the difference between like users saying, well, wow, that sounds very awesome, the two juxtaposed against each other, the way these two things sound against each other. That is something else I would say to keep in mind, right? Yeah, a lot of pieces make a great track. That's so true. See, and I would say when people get discouraged of writing music, it's because, you know, you write a loop and you sit in one stage, the writing part, and you never seem to like break that boundary of, okay, I wrote something, now I got to write something else or something else, multiple little chunks, and then you'd have to say, well, now what do I do? And the question, it's not a question, it's the answer is you start to write. Okay, so when we think about this and we write music, we have to get in the mindset that we're actually going to write different parts, okay? And the different parts have to be made. Oh, I'm getting some power supply buzz. I may have to go get another adapter if I don't have one. Yeah, you hear that buzzing. Might not be as bad, but so inside of something I'm writing here, right, there's a part, right? And when I write the next piece, right, you can see inside of the move I did exactly what I'm talking with the arrangements now. So this is my verse, this is more like my chorus, and then I have a break, musically, you know. Oh, sorry. All right, and that break now is going to lead into my next part. And notice, it's a completely different part. Right? Now, in this piece, pretty easy. You know, that's a 1 chord. In the key of, I believe, D, and then that's a 2 chord. This might be C though. Let's take a look. No, it's A minor, so it's the key of C. So when I'm playing here, that's a C chord, and then the next chord's an E minor. So literally, this part's very easy, you know. Then I made another break, and then I wrote something else, right? And in this next part, I just stayed on one chord. It's the 6th chord, right? So I'm right on A minor there. Right? And what happens if we go back to the beginning? Very different. It's 1, 2, 6. Right? So this might be your verse, and then your chorus is the next line next to it. And all joking aside, an intro might just be like the beginning of something, the sound that something's building up, right? And all of a sudden we want to go to the chorus. The cowbell might be the other change in my chorus here, right? And that sounds very different, or this part here. And then again I have a break. In this break, guess what? You could be playing the chords with it, right? So the idea that this device happens to break everything down in those kind of, terms. It's like, well, am I going to make a verse? Am I going to make a chorus? Am I going to make another part? That is what the move is breaking us down according to these scenes, right? And then the other question is, well, what happens in the Elektron world is you have patterns. So you could write a pattern, keep some of that theme, go to another pattern. So I think today's talk was more about what happens with music as we're thinking about writing these pieces, and what are we doing with the chords that we write anyway? Well, we're going to have to find places for them to go. When people were asking, well, how did you determine what to use in the chorus or in the verse? I would recommend studying a channel like Open Studio. And I know a lot of people are like, well, you're recommending another channel? Well, yeah, you could watch me and learn some of the basics, and this is what I'm teaching, the very basic mechanics of music. But then channels like Open Studio, where they're teaching you push chords and secondary dominants, when someone says, well, how do you know what chord to put in the chorus that's different than the verse? That's where I recommend that channel for you to get better educated on chords. And I've taught modal interchange here, so I've taught some of the same theory, but I think hearing it out of someone else's mouth and watching how organized his channel is and how great they play and what they do, they talk about some very, very important musical information. So I would say, yeah, this has been the idea today. I wanted to just talk about arrangement. I'm going to go get ready for work, but hopefully this gives you something to kind of bite on, which is like intro, verse, chorus, solo, coda, out. And in techno world, you might think of break, build, rise, and solos. But I hope everybody's staying warm. It's very cold outside. But practice maybe doing an arrangement today, because we've talked about writing chords and we've talked about writing patterns. And maybe what you need to do is now take all that energy and actually make, a song. Imagine that. But I hope everybody's doing well. Happy Thursday. If you like the channel, please subscribe. And if you want to comment and tell me some other things you want to talk about, please let me know. My channel is always based on teaching basic music education and ideas for how I get songs finished and written. And again, if you need something or you have any comments you want to reach out, please let me know. All right, everybody, take care. Talk to you soon.